Dr. Zeus, Dr. Zeus. Dr. Zeus, Dr. Zeus. Dr. Zeus, Dr. Zeus. Oh, Dr. Zeus. Dr. Zeus, Dr. Zeus. Oh, hi there! I forgot I turned the thing on. So, where are we? Yes, welcome to another episode review for Steven Universe. This series has been so good. I really did love this episode. It has a slice of life feel to it, but I feel like there's more to it. You know what I mean? There's a bit more going on and it's trying to tell us not like secretly, like a little secret message, Doctor Who wise. So this episode is called Space Race, and it's more or less the let me get into an announcer voice here. It's more or less Gems in Space. Yes, Gems in Space. Well, a gem and two gems in space. I mean, well, then it would be Gems in Space. Now, this is another Pearl episode, and most of you guys know that Pearl is my favorite character on the show. Also, Manos's. Yay! So this episode starts out with Steven and the Gems going to a warp pad that has all these broken and inactive warp pads that could allow the gems travel from Earth to to the Gem homeworld. And also, we have this little bit of tidbit that Pearl casually mentions. She says, not only does it allow the gems to travel from Earth to the Gem homeworld, but also Gem-controlled worlds. So remember when I said that maybe the gems are like the Saiyans? Like maybe they've conquered other worlds using their powers? Maybe there are, like, when she said Gem-controlled worlds, that could be like, maybe they just colonized other planets that were uninhabited, or maybe the gems really did go out there and conquer some worlds. And Rose and the other Rose, Pearl, Garnet, and Amethyst were like, no, we don't want to do this anymore, and went down to Earth. That's something, to think on right there. I don't know, it was just a passing comment that it made me think. It really did make me think. So, continuing onward, Pearl talks about how she wants to go back into space again. She really wants to see, the cosmos once more. And more or less what happens is that Steven decides he wants to help Pearl get back into space with getting help from his dad, who this is more or less about Steven, Greg, and Pearl building a spaceship. And it starts out with Steven and Greg making this wooden spaceship that goes down this wooden little buggy that goes down a hill. And it just goes down the hill, and the whole riding thing is, in this episode, is sometimes it's okay to know when to bail out. And there's a moment when Steven's going in the cart going downhill, and they're going down, and it's almost like something almost Homer Simpson or Ed, Edd and Eddy would build, really. And he's going downhill, and he sees the ramp, it's coming apart, and he's like, no shame, and jumps out. And then he's like, what? And Pearl's like, what kind of calculations did you use to build this? None. We didn't use any. And I thought that was really funny. So, Pearl decides she's going to help Steven and Greg build their own, build the spaceship to allow her to go into space once more, and it goes out saying that Pearl gets a little too obsessive over this. That she's building all this kind of crazy stuff, and Greg is going along with that at first, but you can clearly see that it's bothering him. It really is, it really shows that it's bothering him on how much this is, on how much work is being used in this. And the Mark II one kind of looks like a glider, and one of those gas-powered gliders you see sometimes. It kind of looks like that, and they call it the Mark II. It falls apart, and it shoots Steven out after it crashes, and he's just like, woo! Again, something very Homer, very Simpson or Ed, Edd and Eddy-esque as well. So Pearl says, yeah, that wasn't really we're not finished yet. I'm not even close to finishing the final model, and soon we'll be out in space. And then Greg is like, no, I don't want my son out in space. I don't want my son to be out there and possibly getting killed. Which is weird because he goes on death-defying missions all the time. So why going out into space is a problem for Greg, I have no idea. But it's always nice to see him be a father, and he just doesn't feel comfortable with his son going, I guess the whole thing is that he doesn't want his son to be too far away from him. But then again, you're going to different realities and gem worlds. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just like, oh, I have a moment of clarity in my parentalhood, or that's not a word. I have a moment of clarity in my parenting. I need to say no. So that's really what it was him saying no, and then they spend the night in the barn while Pearl is working by herself. She actually builds a spaceship using parts of the van and a few other things, and convinces Steven to go with her on a test flight. And of course, Greg wakes up and sees that Steven and Pearl are going out into space, and Pearl who's now gets this like cool spacesuit kind of design to her costume. And they shoot out into space, and she's like, look, I'll bring Steven back in 50 years. We're just going to go see the closest nebula. And Steven at this point's like, no, we were just going to do a test flight. We can't do this. And then the ship starts coming apart. Pearl is having a panic attack, and she just wants to go out into space. You feel bad for her. She just wants to see space again, but Steven convinces her to stop. He convinces her, it's okay to bail out. They eject right before the ship explodes. And Greg has nearly a heart attack. And they're going back down to Earth, and Pearl is pretty much like, well, maybe I should feel better on being with her on Earth. And it's a very touching scene at the end. Again, it feels very slice of life-ish, but that one little thing of the set of Pearl saying gem-controlled worlds made me go, methinks there's more going on here. So yeah, I really did like it. Not a lot to talk about. It was, again, very fun, but still can't help but overthink that one thing Pearl said. I don't know, it's just kind of in my head now. So, that's really all I had to say about this episode. It was a lot of fun. There were some actually generally good laughs. And again, there were some points in here that reminded me of something that would be built by, some of the ships they created that the rocket cart that Steven and Greg built reminded me so much of something from Etta and Nettie. But yeah, really did like this. I really did like this episode. So you guys tell me, what did you guys think of this episode? Did you guys like it? Did you guys hate it? Comment below.